All right, so
What's the
this.
theme of the week, Robin?
Wow. All right, so this week we're going to be talking about the town, the city that you may have heard the most about when planning your trip to New Zealand, and it's Queenstown, the most Instagrammable city in the country, the most overhyped city in the country, if I say so myself. But yeah, it's a great lakeside southern town renowned for all its adventure activities, from skiing in winter to white water rafting in summer, but you can also do it in winter, let's be honest, and obviously bungee jumping all year round. However, there are a few underrated experiences that we're going to cover today, and yeah, we're going to go over all of our tips to make the most of your time in Queenstown. Should it be only a couple of days, or should it be spending a few months there during your gap year? So let's talk Queenstown. Alright, so let's begin with a few FAQ, frequently asked questions about Queenstown. So Laura, where is Queenstown?
Queenstown is located in the central Otago region of the South Island of New Zealand, which is the second southernmost region of the South Island. So it's quite far down south.
So because it's so far south, is it super cold? Like, what's the weather like in Queenstown?
So the weather is, it is pretty chilly, especially compared to the North Island. The ranges change a lot, the temperature ranges. So the daily average temperature in Queenstown is around 10 degrees Celsius.
Which is 50.2 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, it's the average for the entire year, right?
Yeah. And it does get its fair share of rainfall throughout the year. It's approximately around 858 millimeters of rain.
Which is 33.8 inches.
So yeah, that's the weather.
Okay, so what are the best months then to visit Queenstown?
So it really depends on what you want to do in Queenstown. Of course, if you want to come for the winter season, if you want to try skiing, snowboarding, then the winter season runs from July to September, although the best months would be August and September to do skiing and snowboarding. However, if you want some warmer climate for your time in Queenstown, then it's best to travel there between November and March.
All right, so speaking of traveling to Queenstown, how do you make your way toward Queenstown? How do you get to Queenstown?
Okay, there are many ways to get to Queenstown. So Queenstown does have its own international airport. Mostly international flights come from Australia, but plenty of domestic flights specifically come from Christchurch and Auckland. There's also, Queenstown is on the national bus route, so if you're taking the intercity bus, then you can definitely get to Queenstown via that way. There's also, obviously it's well connected by road, so if you're doing a road trip around New Zealand, you can get there by car, camper van, whatever method you choose, and it does have car rental.
Moped?
Moped, of course.
Of course.
There are car rental companies based in Queenstown, so it could be a good place to do one-way rentals if you want to drop off your vehicle in Queenstown. Then there are a select few companies that are based in Queenstown as well. And yeah, I think that just about covers transport.
All right, so how many days should people spend in Queenstown?
So I'd say like the minimum amount of days to spend in Queenstown is 2 days. There's usually, you know, if you really want to squeeze in some of the highlights, then 2 days is a good amount of time. But there is certainly enough in Queenstown to stay around for about 5 days. I would say is like if you have a lot of time to spare, then 5 days would be a nice long stint to do in Queenstown. But yeah, anywhere between 2 to 5 days is a good amount of time.
So you would say 3 days enough?
Yeah, 3 days is enough.
Nice. So do you need a car in Queenstown to make the most of your time there?
You don't necessarily need a car. So good thing about a lot of the tours there is that they do offer pickups from Accommodations in Queenstown, or they'll offer pickups from what they call the station building, which is this sort of main building on Shotover Street in Queenstown. So yeah, pickups are available for going to most tours. Otherwise, there is public transport. So there is a bus service, there are taxis. So there are other transport options. You don't have to necessarily, you know, pay the big bucks for car rental if you're staying in Queenstown, if you don't have to. And finding parking in Queenstown can be quite annoying. So, you know, there's sometimes a lot of disadvantages to having a car around in Queenstown if you don't need it.
All right, so one of the big questions we often receive is how expensive is Queenstown?
Queenstown is one of the most expensive places to visit in New Zealand, mainly because a lot of the activities there are more of the expensive activities. So yeah, it's a tourist town. There's lots of competition between companies. So yeah, it can be quite expensive. So just to give sort of a ballpark figure of if you're doing a real budget trip, then you might want to save around 1,700 New Zealand dollars for your trip. But if you're doing oh no, let's not go through that. I was going to say for a solo 7-day trip. I'm reading my notes, and that's
$8,000.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. You explained that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
So your budget would be, if you're solo, about $1,700 for like 2-3 days in Queenstown, with the accommodation, all the activities. But if you want to do a 7-day trip, it's going to be about like $8,000 for, let's say, a family, because you can kind of budget around a little bit on that.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, another question we get quite often is, why is Queenstown, so expensive? And so it's basically because humans, this town is not built as a town where you can live in. Therefore, it is basically mostly a tourist resort, and everything is priced as such for people only spending a small amount of time there and just making them spend as much money as possible. So that's just kind of the explanation of why is Queenstown so expensive. Now, Laura, why is Queenstown best known for? Why is it so famous?
It's best known for being the adventure capital of New Zealand, so particularly known for its adrenaline activities, bungee jumping, skydiving, whitewater rafting, canyoning, jet boating, giant swings, all that sort of thing. That's sort of the name or the brand that Queenstown has based itself on.
Nice. And so does Queenstown, last question for you, does Queenstown get any snow?
It certainly gets snow in the surrounding mountains, so that's why it does have a ski season. However, the snow doesn't necessarily always go into the town. It's quite rare for it to snow. Yeah, it depends on the season and the year. Yeah, it's quite rare for it to snow in the town itself.
All right, and so that would be winter, that would be June to August, just to clarify that. All right, next we're going to talk about the best thing to do in Queenstown, but first, let's go back to the live chat. Next up, let's talk about what there is to do in Queenstown. So Laura, just jump right into it. What are the top expenses in Queenstown?
Speaking of bungee jumping. There's lots of options for bungee jumping in Queenstown. So yeah, there's 3 main bungee jumps there, which you can look into, and they're pretty cool. You can also do giant swings through canyons. There's the Shotover Canyon swing and the Nevis swing. So if you want to do, kind of something similar to a bungee, but you don't have to, you're sort of released into the abyss rather than having to jump yourself, then there's that option. Jet boating in Queenstown, there are several different options for that, and we do have comparison articles on nzpocketguide.com, so make sure to go check that out.
The link is in the description.
Cool. Skiing at the Remarkables. So the just to be quite frank, the closest ski field to Queenstown that is the best one, in my opinion, is the Remarkable ski field. So if you're visiting in winter, that's the one I would recommend to go to. If you want to do a bit of hiking or a free activity, then hiking Ben Lomond for a full day hike is a popular option. There's also the onsen hot pools. So if you want to go and do a beautiful hot pool experience with a view, then that's a good relaxing option. And for a popular day trip that's not too far away from Queenstown, Arrowtown is a really cool option to go visit.
Is there any good rainy day activities in Queenstown? Because it does rain at times in New Zealand.
Yes, so there are several rainy day activities, but just to quickly go through about 3 of them. Thrill Zone is an indoor entertainment centre, especially good for families. They have all that good stuff like laser tag, 4D cinema, all these sort of wacky things that, those indoor entertainment centres, all those things.
Laura is in with the youth right here. Look at that. Look at the face of being in with the youth.
So they have that in Queenstown. Also, it's a really good option on a rainy day to go to Milford Sound.
My favourite time to go to Queenstown.
Yes, arguably a lot of people do say that it is better in the rain to see a lot more waterfalls, so that could be a good thing to do on a rainy day.
We talked about that. We met one of our Patreon subscriber just 2 days ago. Oh yeah, yesterday. Yeah. And we talked with her. She did Queenstown in the rain, and she did Queenstown during a sunny day. And yeah, we all were sharing that we liked it best during the rainy days.
And also a wine tour. So there are
Go get pissed.
driving wine tours, and you're mostly staying out the rain if you're going indoors to different cellar doors and trying different wines.
Indeed. All right. And what is there to do at night in Milford Sound? So in Queenstown.
Queenstown, yes. So you can go on an evening cruise and farm tour on the TSS Earnslaw, which is like a steamship, which will take you across Lake Wakatipu to a high country farming station called Walter Peak, and they do a bit of a farm show there as well as an evening sort of buffet dinner. So if you want to get that sort of sense of farm life in New Zealand, then that's sort of the experience Queenstown offers. You can also go stargazing at the top of the Skyline gondola. So yeah, there's that. They have telescopes, powerful telescopes and stuff. Hope for a clear night.
Rah!
And then next up is Fear Factory. So this is like it's an indoor activity, but also they are open till quite late on an evening, and it's kind of like a horror sort of theme park experience.
And obviously there is all your restaurants, nightclubs, bars, and all that. Queenstown
All that
has
good stuff.
pub tours and all that good stuff.
Yes.
All right. Next up, we're going to be talking about where to stay in Queenstown. All right, next up on our coverage to Queenstown, we're going to be talking about accommodations and best places to stay. So it's really hard to select only a handful of places to stay in when it comes down to Queenstown, because there is so many accommodation options. There is really, really, really heaps. And on top of that, well, everybody travels differently and with different budget. Because believe me, if you want to spend $10,000 a night, there are some options for you in Queenstown, but there are also some options for you if you only want to spend $40 a night. So Laura has prepared a handful of suggestions of places that we like within kind of a certain amount of criterias. And aside from that, we have plenty of articles on NZ Pocket Guide covering everything like best hotels, apartment, backpackers, luxury accommodation, camping spot, and everything in between. So check the link in the description below for detailed suggestions for your way of travel. But in the meantime, Laura, some suggestions, please.
So if you want to go, 5-star hotel, there's loads of options in Queenstown, but one that we like is the Queenstown Park Boutique Hotel. So this is obviously a much smaller room count, and it makes sort of that more luxury experience a little bit more special, and it's within walking distance of Queenstown town centre. Next up, if you want to go on the opposite end of the scale for something a lot cheaper, backpacker budget, then I'll give you two quick options. There's Adventure Queenstown, which is really good sort of personal service, which is often hard to find in hostels and backpackers. And then another really cool option is Absolute Queenstown, which is on the lakeside, a really good location right in the center of town, and beautiful views of Lake Wakatipu from there, and it's a hostel, so it's cheap. Next up, if you're looking for an out of town experience, maybe something romantic, then the Canyons B&B is a really nice option if you want something to escape away from the hustle and bustle of Queenstown. Then that's a really good option, the Canyons B&B. If you're looking for a more eco-friendly accommodation, which is about a 5-minute drive from town, then Sherwood is a nice option. They have a really good sort of unique characteristics of their hotel, where they have like their decor is all recycled materials. They do like organic food at their restaurants and all that sort of thing. So that's a cool point of difference. And then finally, if you want to find somewhere that's nice and affordable, but man, you have to book really far ahead, because it's sort of like this mid-range B&B option that's also affordable, which can be quite hard to find in Queenstown. Then Melbourne Lodge is a long-established accommodation, which is only a 5-minute walk from town, and it has that sort of cozy, homely feel to it, like a B&B. But it's sort of boutique feel accommodation, somewhere between a hostel and a hotel, so sort of meets in the middle.
And if I have to pick my own personal favorite accommodation in Queenstown, and I'm more on the budget side because I do like to interact with other travelers, I will pick the one on the photo right here, which is Absolute Backpackers in Queenstown.
I already
So, yeah.
mentioned it.
Do you talk about them?
Yeah. It's not on the list, but I decided to
Oh,
just
you talk about it.
quickly
Well,
mention
I
it.
kind of was running out. Anyway, it's my favorite. Here you go. That's it. Next up, we'll talk about places to eat at in Queenstown. All right.
That's embarrassing. You're not even listening to me.
No, I'm not. I'm busy. I'm reading the comments and I'm doing the clickety-click. Where to eat in Queenstown? So let's talk about food. So there's many different restaurants in Queenstown. The same kind of qualifier applies to what we were talking about for accommodations. If you do want a full list of the places that we recommend, check the link in the description below. However, Laura has prepared maybe a 5 favorites, something like that. That's what you prepared?
Yes.
5 favorite places to eat because she's the stomach of us both.
Okay. All right. So if money is no option and you're wanting to go somewhere like, oh, we're only in Queenstown once, let's go treat ourselves to some fine dining, then The Bunker is highly recommended. It's located in a tiny lane called Cow Lane, nestled in the streets of Queenstown. And it's very much a sort of cozy fine dining experience where it's by the fireside. They have a cocktail bar. It's sort of like it's very much like, small plate fine dining. You choose your meat or your vegetarian option, whether you want to go for the duck or the Nelson salmon or, the goat's cheese on the vegetarian menu, that sort of thing. So that's kind of their vibe. It's certainly a place if you want to go impress. Queenstown is also renowned for its the Otago wine region, which is right on its doorstep. So if you want to go and experience sort of a winery dinner, they're nearby, not too far away, just on the road towards Arrowtown and Lake Hayes is the Amersfield Winery and Bistro. So that would be a nice place to go experience that sort of winery setting, but not have to travel all the way out to where many more wineries are located, sort of a bit further out of town. There's also Devil Burger. So
better than Ferg Burger.
Controversially, everybody knows about Ferg Burger, which is the place where you get your oversized burgers in Queenstown. It usually comes with a very long line, a very long waiting time. So if you want to go for something that is arguably better, maybe just as good. I don't know where I stand on that one. But Devil Burger is a great option to get that experience as well. And it's also located in the center of town. Another really good place if you want to experience that classic Kiwi fish and chips experience.
And one of the weirdest desserts you can get, which is a deep fried kiwi fruit, which is delicious.
Yeah, then
how to make like something healthy, like absolutely unhealthy though. I have to say that's awesome.
So yeah, Eric's Fish and Chips is a great option in Queenstown. And it's also, a lot of the restaurants can be quite expensive. So if you want something that is much more affordable, laid back, get yourself a takeaway from Eric's Fish and Chips, and try their deep fried kiwi fruit. And then finally, for wacky desserts, then Balls and Bangles is a very...
Don't think you can say that on YouTube, Laura.
Yes. We will be demonetized now for saying Balls and Bangles. But yeah, this is the name of basically a dessert shop where they have really wacky design desserts and, inject your own donuts, all that sort of thing. That's another alternative dessert place to try.
Now, Queenstown also features a lot of great foodie experiences and food tours, from winery tours to craft breweries and everything in between. There's even some places where you can go and spin your own honey, which is really awesome. And there are some really cool little markets. So make sure to check the link in the description below for our suggestion on that. Next up, we'll talk about Queenstown for budget travelers and many other options. All right, Laura, tell us more. Tell us more about Queenstown for budget travelers.
All right, so I'll just quickly go through a few things that you can do on a budget in Queenstown. If you don't want to spend hardly any money, then you can hike up Queenstown Hill, which is a nice sort of like couple of hours walk behind the suburb of Queenstown Hill, getting some really cool views of the lake and town. There's also the Queenstown Gardens, so you can take a stroll through the beautiful gardens right in the town centre. Even if you want to spend a bit of money, hire some frisbee discs, and they have a frisbee golf course there.
Yep.
There's also Queenstown Beach, which is basically a beach right in the centre of town on the lakeside. You can also spend a few money on a Ferg burger or a devil burger if you want to try one of those.
A few money?
A few money, yeah.
Oh, Laura is from the Middle Ages today.
A few coins.
Would you spare a few money, my sir?
Yeah. And then finally, you can do if you do have your own vehicle, you can drive up to Moke Lake, which has a beautiful walk around there. Really nice area, and there's a campground there. So if you're camping and you want to stay somewhere cheap, then Moke Lake is a good option.
Check out NZ Pocket Guide for 30 more free and cheap things to do in Queenstown, of course.
Of course.
Okay. Next up, let's talk about what happens if you want to spend beaucoup money in Queenstown. There are a plethora of luxury experiences, so it's really hard to find which one would be the best one and everything. And again, we got you covered on NZ Pocket Guide. But Laura, do you want to highlight 5?
Yeah, so to do the Queenstown to Milford Sound experience, do that by flying via fixed wing flight or helicopter. There's certainly options for that in Queenstown, so we do have comparison articles on nzpocketguide.com. You can also do a private 4-wheel drive of Skipper's Canyon. So this is regarded one of the most dangerous roads in New Zealand, and you can go on a private excursion down there, learn about the history of the place and soak up the amazing scenery. You can play golf at one of Queenstown's prestigious golf courses. They do have some of the top golf courses around the country. So Queenstown is certainly a good place to tee off. Golfing terms, I know something. You can also do heli skiing during the winter season, or Queenstown does even have its own private ski resort. So you can find out more about that on NZ Pocket Guide as well. So make sure you check out the link in the description. And finally, you can do a guided walk of one of the nearby New Zealand Great Walks, such as the Route Burn Track. So doing a guided experience means that you'll be educated on the different flora and fauna you'll be seeing along the way. We do even have a video on this channel of us doing that really different, unique experience, because a lot of us wouldn't consider doing a guided hike, but that is surprisingly awesome. So yeah, check that out on us doing a guided walk of the Route Burn Track on this channel.
All right, so next up, let's talk about Queenstown for families. So Queenstown is a bit of a family paradise. There's really a lot to keep the kids entertained there. Laura, do you want to give us 5 of your favorite options?
Certainly. So if you want to get that adrenaline experience in that is also family friendly, then jet boating would be my recommendation. There are several jet boating excursions that you can take in Queenstown, so we do have them all compared on nzpocketguide.com, so make sure to check out the website or search jet boat Queenstown on the search bar and you'll find the article I'm referring to. A zipline tour, so that is you can do a really awesome zipline tour from the top of the Skyline gondola. This is it appeals to a wide range of age ranges, and it's more that soft adventure activity, so it's not as crazy as doing a bungee jump, but it's a really cool sort of half-day experience with the family. You can also go and learn about New Zealand wildlife and birds at Kiwi Park. So this is sort of like a wildlife conservation centre, and they do a few shows there to explain about the interesting New Zealand birds, and you'll get to see a few there as well. There's also Walter Peak, which is the sort of high station farm experience of New Zealand, where you'll get to see a few farming demonstrations, see some animals, some sheepdogs working the animals, and that sort of thing, which usually kids are really into and find really interesting. So it's a really good family experience. And then finally, a nice silly activity that's really hilarious to do as a family is to do the luge, which again is at the top of the Skyline gondola, and it's sort of this like downhill go-karting. It's powered by gravity. It's very easy to control these go-karts, basically just lifting handlebars up and down. So yeah, that's a really cool thing to do as a family.
Alright, so next up and last thing we're going to be talking about for Queenstown is Queenstown for couples. So how about a bit of romantic time in Queenstown, Laura? What would you like to do?
Well, are you asking me?
Yes.
Are we going? Okay.
Yes.
So if you want to do something really special, you know, it's a bit pricey, but, you know, something that is, you know, out of the ordinary, then there are helicopter companies that will take you for a private picnic in the mountains. So that can certainly be, you know, something for a special occasion. There's also cruising on Lake Wakatipu. There are various options for taking a cruise on the lake. Most popular is the TSS Earnslaw. Southern Discoveries have stopped doing their cruise on the lake there. But yeah, there's also kayaking, that sort of thing as well to enjoy on the lake. Walking hand in hand through the Queenstown Gardens, through beautiful flower gardens. Oh.
Laura likes to do our date nights very cheaply.
It's the simple things, you know. If you can't afford the helicopter picnic, then maybe the Queenstown Gardens will be suitable. If you want to do an adrenaline activity together, then Shotover Canyon Swing or Nevis Swing, they're both sort of, you can do them in tandem, so you can do them together and do the huge canyon swing and have a crazy time together. That's probably the best option for couples. And then finally, a more intimate way to enjoy Milford Sound would be to take one of the scenic fixed wing flights over there, and there's different packages you can do. You can fly over there, do the cruise and fly back, or just do a scenic flight.
And you can do it private if you want to do it private.
Do it private as well. So yeah, and we do have many more suggestions on an article that we have on nzpocketguide.com, which is 20 romantic things to do in Queenstown. So believe me, we have a lot more that we can recommend.
Alright, so that wraps up our coverage of Queenstown. If you find this video useful, make sure to hit like, to subscribe, all that good buttons that the robots of YouTube want you to do. And if you want to plan your trip to New Zealand, check out nzpocketguide.com. There's a link for you in the description of this video. It's New Zealand's largest travel guide, and it is basically a database of all our expert knowledge available to you for free. We also have a great Patreon group where you can come and plan your trip with our assistants. We do group calls and all that, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, otherwise we see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.